Hi, and welcome to the Diamond Report for Wednesday, May 24th, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 10:41 p.m. and we're looking at Earthquake 3D. And man, these magnitude 6.0s just keep happening. I'm sort of surprised how accurate I've been on how many 6s we've had. I think still based on our May 8th CERN restart. We've got two more here that we're looking at. We've got a magnitude 6 and a swarm of smaller 5s and lower up here in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. And then we've got another magnitude 6 right there, east area of East Solomon Islands. And I had mentioned this just last night. We would probably see movement right here in this exact area. And then like bang, there it is. I mean, there you go. If you have any doubt about what I was saying, just go back and watch yesterday's Diamond Report. Anyway, there you go. I've got two more magnitude 6s and a couple more 5s over here in Central America and Mexico. If I back this off, we'll be able to see the all earthquakes over the last, let's look at the last 48 hours. And this is everything magnitude 2.0 and larger. And if you'll notice, we've got a magnitude 3.4 in Ohio, of all places. But that is also right along that edge of the North American craton. I showed that last night. You can see this U shape or V shape here. That's how the edge of the craton sits. And again, if you want more information, just go back and watch yesterday's Diamond Report with the earthquake update at the beginning, and I go over that and show you an overlay of how the North American craton lies across the continent. So we've got another couple more 6s and one more direct hit, which I mentioned yesterday that we would see, that 6.0 right there in the West Pacific, Solomon Islands. We've got quite a bit more new activity, actually. 4s, 5s, lots of upper 4s, especially near right here through Japan and Taiwan, Philippines, and then quite a few throughout Indonesia as well. So we're seeing another sort of pickup or uptick in movement. I would say, if anything, the West Pacific has really become active, and the Middle East and I guess the Middle East and Asia both are maybe about the same, if not a little less active. Nothing really very big to report there. That's all 4s and 3s and 2s, which is kind of normal, but usually there'll be a upper 4 or a 5 mixed in there, but I didn't really see one. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today's earthquake update. We'll keep it short and let's move on to the headlines. Islamic terror used to bring police state. Of course, I mentioned this yesterday about the Hegelian dialectic, but yeah, they're going to use that to crack down on us. Peace-loving citizens, the ones who are totally innocent in this whole Islamic terror nonsense, that it's really just Islam being Islam. But they're going to bring in the troops. They're going to line our streets with them. It may take a little while, but they're definitely going to use this false flag event as a reason to crack down, to put the everlasting boot on our throat, little by little. But I think we'll really start seeing it more in events with high attendance capacity type situations like concerts and sporting events and things like that. We'll probably see it even more in situations like that now after the Ariana Grande terror attack in Manchester. You know, it's really just a matter of time before somebody hits a sports stadium now too and takes out tens of thousands of people. Hawaii updating nuclear contingency plan over North Korea fears. Katy Perry is a complete idiot. Villains from upcoming video game are white Christian right-wing extremists from Montana. I mean, of course, why wouldn't they be? Aren't we all? Americans cast as enemies in Far Cry 5. I think the social justice warriors and liberals and the leftists out there who are actually communists, they just don't admit it, would probably say that white Christian right-wing people aren't even technically Americans. That's my guess. And more political correctness run amok. Portland burrito spot shutters amid claims of cultural appropriation. Public outrage at theft of another culture's, quote, intellectual property. Okay, so now only Mexicans, apparently, or people from Mexico are allowed to serve burritos. Do you know how ridiculously stupid that is? Democrats struggling to achieve any kind of party unity. Party imploding as it becomes more radicalized. It's on the Daily Caller. Open Borders activists use Birmingham vigil to push agenda. The hard left thrives on divisive identity politics. That's on West Monster. People could go to jail. OAN reports White House leakers identified Trump set to fire 3 staffers. Video Linda Sarsour mocks student for questioning female genital mutilation tweet. And here's a good example of Katy Perry stupidity. Katy Perry on Manchester bombing. Quote, no barriers, no borders, we all just need to coexist. I think that the greatest thing we can do is just unite and love on each other. It's on Breitbart. Well, on the surface, doesn't that sound nice? A lovely platitude. But there's no basis in reality. We're bringing in radical Muslims and Islam being Islam, doing what it does, and it is simply not compatible with the West. And idiots like Katy Perry think that it should be. Or they're so worried about being politically correct that they don't really care if it is or not. They just want to be the ones who seemingly care, even though whatever it is they believe have no basis in reality whatsoever. Morrissey rips British politicians after Manchester attack. Quote, petrified to admit Islamic extremism behind terror. The anger is monumental. For what reason will this ever stop? Well, it never will stop until Islam rules everything. That's what Islam does. It takes over. And once you're exterminated, and once no more white people exist who haven't converted to Islam, then the terror attacks will stop. Manchester suicide bomber was trained abroad. Family had reported him as dangerous. Killer had traveled to Libya within the last 12 months. And already, just as I said moments ago and also in last night's report, security tightened at concert and sports venues worldwide after Manchester attack. Governments will leave borders open, expand internal police states instead. That is the Hegelian dialectic. That's exactly what's going on. They bring these people in on purpose, they create the problem, they form a reaction, and then they swoop in with their own solution, which in this case is to crack down on all the rest of us. Even though we didn't do anything, they couch it in for our own good and for our own protection. It's always embraced in safety. But what it does is it takes away all of our rights. Hannity says, out of respect for the family's wishes, I'm no longer discussing the Seth Rich matter at this time. Hannity alluded to communications with the Rich family as for why he made that decision. It's on Breitbart. From Paul Joseph Watson, Facebook punished me for complaining about a death threat. Social media giant threatened to terminate my account. Video, Tommy Robinson reports from Manchester terror site. Robinson demolishes the left's narrative about Islam. Hillary Clinton says Trump's budget will harm, quote, millions of Americans. It hurts the well-being of children. The Clintons always do that. They always say that they're working for the children. It's always this or that about the children. And everything they do is for the children, including harming children, as in pedophile and sex slavery. Of course, they don't tell you that little detail, do they? You're not supposed to realize that they're involved in that stuff, but they are. With threat very high, France set to extend state of emergency. Macron seeks 6th extension of state of emergency, which expires July 15th. Politically correct Americans better wake up to terrorist threat, sheriff warns. This is what happens when you disarm your citizens. It's on the Dallas News. ESPN and the bursting of the sports bubble. Too much political propaganda. That's on Mrs.org. Bombing aftermath, suicidal political correctness unleashed. A look at the reactions of the media, politicians, and citizens. It's from David Knight. Trump effect? Household income hits 15-year high. First time median household income has topped 100 since December 2008. Don't F with me about ISIS. Duterte invokes Eastwood and Jesse James in anti-militia pledge. It's on RT.com. Obama intel agencies secretly conducted illegal searches on Americans for years. Democrat Shill Brennan pushes White House regime change. The establishment has not slowed down with the impeach Trump rhetoric. That's also from David Knight. Survey, vast majority of people all over the world want global government to save them. Almost 3/4 want a supranational organization to make enforceable global decisions. Ah, the dawn of global government. You have the people begging for it, and they will get what they're begging for. Lynching Sheriff Clark, CNN grammar Nazis go after his thesis. The media attacks Sheriff Clark in a last-ditch effort to block his appointment to Homeland Security, which I might also add is another unconstitutional agency. Elites using terror attacks to traumatize and mind control the public. Terrorism being used as an excuse for martial law. Texas moves to block child marriages common in Sharia law. Activist Pamela Geller comments on legislation which would ban major aspects of Islamic religious code. What would Donald Trump's approval rating be without the mainstream media fake news? Imagine how popular Trump would be without the constant feed of negative media. Critics of Islam censored as world braces for more terror. As the left covers up for Islamic terrorists, people who speak out are being silenced. Cuban libertarians defiant as secret police abducts activists. Cubans opening up libertarian libraries named after founding fathers. Scientists say extra layer of plate tectonics could be causing strange tremors across the Pacific. Yeah, well, CERN could be causing that too. Islamic attacks will usher in police state. Radical Islam is the perfect tool for the globalists, which, by the way, is why the leftists have completely aligned with Islam. And now Islam is even more important than things like the gay agenda. We've gone from virtue signaling to tanks in the streets. Politicians brought this war into our country, she says. Manchester attacker's father and younger brother arrested in Tripoli. Brother suspected of ties to ISIS. No details on reasons why the father was arrested. I'm sure it's probably like father, like sons. CNN blames right wing for Manchester suicide bombing. Farage says accepting terrorism as normal is appeasement and surrender. That's exactly what it is. That's right. Establishment tells citizens to accept Islamic terrorism as part of our daily lives. Well, I don't accept it. Do you? Wasserman Schultz threatened police chief for gathering evidence on her IT staffer's alleged crimes. Could be considered using her authority to attempt to interfere with a criminal investigation. That's on Daily Caller. Firefighters and police targeted in Arkansas town. This is on Arkansas Online. Someone is setting fire to homes, vandalizing vehicles. Town seeks state police help. Peaceful approach to radical Islamic terrorism will fail. Radical Islamicists cannot be reasoned with. That's true, but again, they're not radical. They're just doing what Islam is meant to do. They're doing what Muhammad taught. Honor those who died for your freedom this Memorial Day weekend. Americans must make sure the future is secure for upcoming generations as our forefathers did for us. Trump cuts funding to the welfare state. Manchester bomber was product of West's Libya and Syria intervention. Liberals rethink travel ban after Manchester bombing. How many more terror attacks will need to take place before the left wakes up? I don't think there's a number on it. I think that there's no amount that will make them wake up. Katy Perry is a complete idiot, the dumbest of the celebrity libtards. Yeah, I would also add that she's totally given over to the dark side, to evil, and to Satanism and the occult, and you name it. Toxic food, water, and air, the root cause of our healthcare problems. Learn how to stay healthy in today's toxic environment. You can also learn more about toxic air on geoengineeringwatch.org. Facebook ranks as third worst social media site for mental health. Instagram is number 1. What problems will result from long-term social media usage? Hannity loses advertiser after pushing Seth Rich conspiracy theory. Cars.com drops the popular Fox host. That's on the Hill. I'm glad I don't have any advertisers or people paying me to do my show, because I would have been dropped ages ago. Perfectly fine by me, though, because I don't need their money. Britain slams U.S. for leaking details about suicide bomber who, quote, did not act alone, had proven links to ISIS. That's on Zero Hedge. Lounging on a Libyan beach with his childhood mates, the cannabis-smoking teenager who went on to slaughter 22 people in Manchester Arena attack after being radicalized and receiving secret terror training in Syria. Britain on lockdown. Army sends 1,000 soldiers to guard Buckingham Palace. Parliament is closed to the public, and changing of the guard is cancelled. Wow, they're really going all out, aren't they? U.S. fighter jets hit ISIS with 27 airstrikes to wipe out sick killers plotting Manchester. It's a little late for that, don't you think? Putin vows to punish ISIS after Manchester bombing as he vows action and backs Britain. Children are being murdered. We need action, not vigils. Dad's fury on BBC over Manchester. Well, he's right about that. Vigils do nothing. Man with knife arrested at Buckingham Palace just seconds before the Queen passes. That's on the Express. North Korea has hundreds of biochemical attack drones as fears of global war soar. FISA court finds serious Fourth Amendment issue in Obama's widespread illegal searches of American citizens. That's on Zero Hedge. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because Obama's above the law, and all these alphabet agencies like the NSA aren't accountable to anybody because they're totally and completely unconstitutional and should never exist in the first place. And yet, they make all these rules and guidelines, and they do whatever they want, and we're supposed to abide by their laws. Socialists never learn. California's universal health care bill would double the state's budget. That's on shtfplan.com. But it doesn't matter because Governor Jerry Brownshirt will find the money from other places, from other countries, who knows where. From secret CAFRs, as in CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. It's where they stash all the secret money, folks. Look it up. From naturalnews.com, after destroying millions of children with psychiatric drugs, the industry now wants the FDA to expand electroshock, quote, therapy on children. $142 million has been paid out to families from the Secret Vaccine Injury Fund so far in 2017. That's also on Natural News. Inevitable that North Korea builds nuclear-armed missile able to reach the U.S. That's on RT. Ron Paul issues dire warning if Trump disobeys the deep state, he will end up like JFK. That's on the Free Thought Project. Yeah, he's exactly right. Breaking news, father of Manchester bomber Salman al-Bedi says his son is innocent, which of course is why he blew himself up with a homemade bomb made of ball bearings, because that's what innocent people do. And along those lines, breaking news again, police believe Manchester Arena bomb maker is still at large after finding no trace of explosives or equipment at the attacker's house. Duterte declares state of emergency as ISIS militants behead police chief and take Catholic priest hostage alongside worshippers in the Philippines, hours after martial law is brought in. Trump calls Kim Jong-un a madman with nukes and discusses the possibility of missile strikes against North Korea during leaked chat with Philippine leader Rodrigo Duterte. I mean, how stupid is this getting? X22 report, we are now witnessing the total breakdown of the system. House Democrats ask Deutsche Bank if Trump accounts have Russia ties. That's on Zero Hedge. From Greg Hunter on USAWatchdog.com, rise of cryptocurrency means rejection of U.S. dollar. That's an interview with Ron Kirby. Open border liberals who live behind walls in gated communities should immediately stop talking. But they won't. They're too busy virtue signaling. DNC Media and John Podesta blocked discussion of Seth Rich's murder, even using bots to trash Hannity on Rich coverage. That's on the Gateway Pundit. I hate that Hannity is giving into this thing. Parents fearful to allow children out as Islamist terror sweeps Europe. Trump lands in Belgium after calling its capital, Brussels, a hellhole, and will attend NATO summit despite saying alliance was obsolete. Rand Paul says Saudi Arabia's role in backing terrorism raises concerns with $100 billion arms deal. You don't say. Thanks, Rand, for the obvious quote of the day. DEFCON level warning as world grapples with rising tensions over terror and nuke war fears. It's on the Express. UK police launch massive manhunt for accomplices of Manchester suicide bomber. X22 report the push is on and the deep state will not hold back this summer. Comey friend warns Trump, quote, "If I were you, I'd be scared." That's on Zero Hedge. North Korea can fire its new ballistic missile from anywhere, satellite images show, making it harder for enemies to strike launch positions. LAPD convinces citizens to surrender their self-defense firearms in exchange for Target gift cards. That's on Natural News. I guess if they do that, then they can go in and use the transgender bathrooms in Target. Breaking double bombing at tourist hotspot leaves body parts scattered. That's on the Express. A double explosion in Indonesia has left at least one man dead at a bus stop. Breaking anti-terror hotline received warnings about Manchester bomber years ago. That's on the Express. Iranian drones circling above U.S. aircraft carrier getting on the Pentagon's nerves. That's on Sputnik News. 2/3 of U.S. adults believe mainstream press publishes fake news. It's on Sputnik News. Breaking 5th Manchester attack arrest as cops swoop on man with suspicious bag. That's on the Daily Star. The Trump collapse scapegoat narrative has now been launched. Last week's stock dive was, in my opinion, the official launch of the Trump collapse narrative. That's on alt-market.com. The lights are going out all over Europe because the leaders of Western Europe have opened the doors to unlimited, unvetted Islamic immigration, giving millions of young, male Middle Eastern thugs an invitation to rape. It's on USDefenseWatch.com. After School Satanist Club wages war on the Bible Belt of America, and they're coming for the children. That's on ChristianTruther.com. 3,000 jihadis on the streets of Britain. Spies and counter-terror police are struggling to monitor a flood of radicalized men and women in their teens. Steve says you can't open the floodgates of terrorism and then seek to control it. All by design. That's on the Daily Mail. Watch, here's a montage of Democrats confirming they have zero evidence Trump colluded with Russia. Steve says, Russia's story is a distraction against murder and pedogate, spying on U.S. citizens, treason, and communist upheaval. Original article on Hannity.com. Must read, Minority Report has arrived. Artificial intelligence. The judge, jury, and executioner. AI is already incriminating citizens. That's on ChristianTruther.com. Here's how easily an epidemic like Ebola can turn into a pandemic. That's on the organicprepper.ca. Europe chose to sacrifice its children to the Islamic Moloch. What are children worth in a hedonistic Europe? What happened to the ruler's duty to protect citizens? Must read, the bombings have only just begun. Progressive Western civilization is slaughtering itself by foolishly appeasing those who seek to destroy it. It's on Natural News, and then Steve says, first Britain, then the U.S., all according to the Illuminati script. Ancestry.com takes DNA ownership rights from customers and their relatives. A word to the wise, read the complete terms of service. That's on thinkprogress.org. Breaking, WikiLeaks emails ties the Podesta brothers to the doctor who oversaw Seth Rich before he died. That's on hiddenamericans.com. An insider's perspective on the murder of Seth Rich. Personal overview from Doug Hagman. Without an honest investigation and arrest, Seth Rich will have no justice, the family no peace, and the nation no answers. That original article is on HomelandSecurityUS.com. 13 reasons why America's high schools are creating another lost generation. Steve says, don't send your kids to college, send them to a vocational school. And this article is outstanding. It's on Sprott Money, S-P-R-O-T-T money.com. The Deep State versus the Republic, your life depends on who wins. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is leading the fight against the Deep State. The battleground is child sex trafficking. That's by Dave Hodges on the Common Sense Show. Okay, that's all for today's Diamond Report. Thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.